All right. Hey there. Welcome back to the Modern Math Teacher Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Kristen Moore. And while I'm pretty sad to be wrapping up Poolside PD for summer 2024, we're just going to ease ourselves back into the school year with a kickoff of a back to school series this August. So, over the next few episodes this month, we're going to be diving into essential tips and strategies to help you start the school year strong. Because I know some of our friends have already started going back. If you are in some southern states, you went back in the end of July. So hopefully you're having a great start to your school year. Or if you are somewhere like I am, I'm going to be starting back to school in 2 weeks. Others of you are a little bit luckier and you get to wait until after Labor Day. But no matter where you're at, we're all kind of thinking about what does this back to school season mean for us and how can we make the most of it while not ourselves or our students because nobody wants that, right? So today we're going to do an episode all about probably my favorite thing to think about. And one of the only things I really let myself think about during the classroom or during the summer season, and that is the design and decor of my classroom. This probably goes back to my original love for Pinterest. You remember when Pinterest came out? It was the most amazing thing, and we could scroll and pin, and I can't even tell you how many thousands of pins I have on my personal boards. But long before the days of Instagram and teacher influencers who could show off their classrooms, we all got our inspo from Pinterest, and we've all maybe made a faux pas or two in our classroom design based on that. So today we're going to be focusing on setting up your classroom for success, maybe not making it Pinterest worthy, but making sure that it is productive. And that is probably way more important than making sure that it can go viral on Instagram. So we're going to talk all about everything from organizing your teacher workspace to organizing your student workspaces and creating an overall cohesive and engaging environment for your students to be centered, focused, and to learn from. Okay, that's the most important thing, is that our students are going to be learning. So let's talk about the teacher workspace first, because you are the one who's going to be in your classroom the longest, the most. Your students are in there, even if you're in elementary school, they're in there all day with you, maybe. But you're in there before school, after hours, at lunch, when your kids are at specials. If you're a high school student, or teacher like I am rather, your students will be in your classroom anywhere from 45 to 85 minutes at a time, and then they're going to another classroom. So the teacher workspace is where you need to make your home base for the classroom to run effectively and for you to be able to do all the managerial tasks that you need to do as a teacher. So we want to talk about having a well-organized desk. First of all, that's going to make a world of difference in your daily routine, how you feel coming into the classroom, how you feel leaving the classroom. If you've got a well-organized desk, you are going to be set up for success as a teacher yourself. So something to think about with that is you want to keep your desk clutter-free by using organizers for your pens, your paper clips, other small items that you use regularly. I don't care what it is that you use, grab something, make use of it, keep everything organized in one small area. Then make sure you have other essential supplies within reach. So whether that is your lesson planner, your grading materials, your textbooks, or any tech tools you need, like a personal teacher calculator, anything of those should also be within reach, but not necessarily right there on your desk. Remember, a tidy desk is going to help you stay focused and efficient throughout the day. So, my favorite tip for this is to embrace this thing called the Teacher Friday Workbox. This is from Organized 365 with Lisa Woodruff. You may or may not have heard of her before. I cannot tell you how many different work boxes I have from her and how they've just changed my life. So, the work box, if you're watching me live, it is like this purple one right here behind me. For teachers, it is always red, and it provides me the exact solution I need to keep everything readily accessible and within reach, but without being right here on my desk. So again, I can't show you the one from my actual classroom because I literally just finished getting that cleaned up and refreshed for the upcoming school year, and I brought it to my new classroom. But this is my business work box behind me, and so I have that. I have two different Sunday baskets, which are like the home organization version of this, and I have this portable blue one that you can see kind of the damask coloring right there. And so what's inside of these is these great flash pockets that keep everything organized by people, by teams, by classes, just anything you are thinking of that you want to remember or you want to drop something in there to have it handy but not on your desk. This is the perfect storage solution for that. Um, and I'll link to it in the show notes. You can check it out more. It is like I said, I've got 6, I think, for all the different things I do between my business, my work, my mom life, my, finances, all the things. So I'm gonna link to that in the show notes. And if you're like an Angela Watson fan, you may have already heard Lisa Woodruff chat on her show. I was even on Lisa's show for sharing how these boxes have changed my life. Anyways, definitely something I want you to consider if you are having trouble with desk organization. 10 out of 10, fully recommend. Again, I'll link to that in the show notes. Okay, so aside from your actual work desk, right, which you want to get into a routine of making sure is tidy at the end of each day, the next thing you want to think about for your teacher workspaces are your storage solutions. So think about what is already there in your classroom. Don't go out and buy a whole bunch of new things. Think about the shelves or the cabinets that are already there for you to use and how you can maximize those. I just moved to a new room and I have just one big cabinet with some shelving on it, and then I have a whole bunch of file cabinets. I haven't used file cabinets in the past, but I'm not going to go out and buy new things. I'm going to figure out how to use these file cabinets to work for me. Okay. So you want to consider using the shelves and the bins that you've already got to manage your teaching materials. I have in the past used project boxes for each unit, and I really liked that. I could keep everything in there and organized. But I'm going to go through them this year and see how many of them I'm using and how I can downsize. Because honestly, so many things are digital these days. It's more important for me to have good digital organization and to just have the things I need in those project boxes. Right now, they've got like hundreds of papers in them. So, recycling bins, here I come. Okay. So, speaking of digital, we also want to think about how we can use digital tools to organize and structure our lives, right? Digital tools can be a complete lifesaver, game changer, whatever it is that you want to call it. I love to use Google Drive cloud storage for all of my things, from lesson plans to important documents to whatever it is to help reduce that physical clutter, right? We don't want things all over the place. That's just going to clutter our minds, clutter our energy, just all of the things. So I like to keep my Google Drive color coded, and I color code it in a system that coincides with my teacher workbox. It is amazing how well these systems work together. Now, if you have a Google Drive or a Dropbox that is just ancient, right? And you're like, Kristen, there's no way I can just clean and organize that. You have full permission. Highlight all of them, right? Click highlight all, put them into one folder that says archive August 2024. Then, as you go in and you Google, you search inside your drive for the different resources you're using, start a new organizational system. As you pull out each of those items, put them into a new folder that relates to either the unit you're teaching or what it was that you needed it for. So whether that was like, student data tracking or lesson planning or whatever, then you're going to create your new folders. Okay. And again, color coding for the win. It's just so helpful for functional executive functioning for everybody. Okay. So that is the teacher workspace. So you want to think about your desk, how to keep that cluttered. I use the teacher education workbox to help me with mine. Then you want to think about the storage you already have, how to maximize it. Color coding also works well there. And then your digital storage, because so many of the things we do today as teachers are digital. So make sure that you are maximizing your organization and storage there. Whew, okay. So that's just one area of the classroom for you to think about. Next up, I want you to think about your student workspaces. Your students inhabit your room, again, could be all day with you, but for most of my audience, it's from 45 to 85 minutes a day. So we want to think about the way that we can arrange the desks and the VNPs and whatever it is, because that can significantly impact student interaction and learning. So let's think about desk arrangements or seating arrangements right now. There are a lot of different layouts that you can choose from. You can go traditional with rows, you can do groups, you can do a U shape. Rows can help you minimize distractions during individual work, but groups and U shapes promote collaboration and discussion. T's and L's can also be really great ways to organize students to enable you to get in there and kind of work with them more easily. So I want you to consider your teaching style and your students' needs when deciding on the best arrangement for your classroom, and stick with it for an entire quarter. Just see how it goes, or at least an entire unit. Okay. You can always change things up depending on your classes, but stick with something for at least a unit. I would say a quarter before you decide to change things up. Now, I know that groups of 3 are really popular these days based on building thinking classrooms. So sometimes it can be hard to get like a trio together in the classroom, especially depending on how big your classroom is. So also consider creating like a 6-pack of seating and then designating trios within that 6-pack. That's what I usually do, and that works pretty well for my students. Okay. So that is their seating. Next, we want to think about what do they need to access during class. Okay. And that's usually their supplies and like their turn in trays. Okay. So we want to organize student supplies for easy access. These should all be in one spot. Students know exactly where to go to get all the supplies they need and to return all the supplies and turn in their work. All of this for me is going to be up at the front of my classroom. I've got cube shelves for my students. And so everything's going to be up there. Okay. You want to designate specific areas for students to turn in their work. That's going to help maintain order and reduce confusion. I use just one turn in tray, one for all my classes. At the end of the class, I go, I paperclip it with the hour that was there, and then it's empty for the next class. Okay. Um, I just want to make sure that you have your students practice using these supplies, especially the first 2 weeks of school. So have them practice picking up supplies, returning supplies, picking up papers, turning in papers, all of these things. Make it routine for them so that it's just this automaticity and you don't have to think about it moving forward. Okay. So we'll make sure to talk more about this in an upcoming episode on classroom management later in the month. And now let's talk specifically for those of you who like whiteboard work or VNPS work or group work. Using VNPs such as like whiteboards or blackboards or whatever it is that you have can, of course, enhance collaborative learning. We know that. That's why we do it. We want to have that thinking classroom. So these surfaces encourage students to engage in problem solving and brainstorming activities, which is awesome. They make your classroom more dynamic, interactive. Yay, we love it. Make sure when you are designing these spaces to space them out. Label them as you see fit. So whether you're doing it with numbers or colors or shapes or cards, I don't care. Number them the way you see fit. Make sure that that number is really prominently displayed so students have no need to second guess that they're at the right board, right? Okay. And then make sure that you have a clear walkway to get to these. Man, that was frustrating in my classroom last year. It was hard to navigate to all of the different VNPs. So when I go this year into my new classroom and I go and get these hung up for the school year, I'm going to make sure that I have them spaced out accordingly and that there's a clear path to get to each one of these. Okay. So those are some things to think about for the classroom spaces. How do you want the desk set up? Try it for a unit or try it for a quarter. How and where will your students be accessing the supplies and turning in things? That should be just routine for the entire year, which is awesome. And then how they are going to get to their VNPs and how like physically get there, and then what you're going to do to get them there. So things to think about for student spaces. Okay. And now last, I want to talk about the overall classroom feel, the ambiance, the vibe, what is it that we've got our students doing to kickstart this learning and really make sure that we are focused, productive, but we're energetic, we're excited. Like, how do we balance all of these things? A well thought out environment can really greatly impact student motivation and engagement. So let's talk furniture and layout. So flexible furniture arrangements can, of course, support different teaching and learning styles. So think about that when you're designing those desks, right? Consider using tables that can be easily moved for group work or individual desks for independent tasks. Take a look at the furniture you have. Think about what makes the most sense. Are my students going to be moving to these different furniture spaces, or are they going to be staying at these spaces? And then how can I just maximize flow around them? Okay. So something to think about with the furniture and the layout. Next up, lighting and music. In particular, in middle high school classes, I find that this plays a huge role. My students are constantly asking me to use the LED lights. We create classroom playlists. All of these are great, right? If you can, natural light can boost mood and concentration. So, really try to maximize that if possible. If you are like me and you have absolutely no windows in your classroom, I still get the covers for my fluorescent lights overhead that make it look like it's daylight, which is so nice. But then I have some soft lighting as well, like I said, with the LEDs. So, soft lighting can create kind of that cozy and welcoming environment. Background music played at a low volume can also enhance focus and productivity. And then you can have different playlists, for more energetic times, for more calm times. I really like to use music to really set the tone for what's happening in the classroom. And lastly, let's talk about the decor. What is it that you're putting on your walls? What are you surrounding yourself with day in and day out? And it can be so so tempting to create a Pinterest or Instagram worthy or inspired classroom filled with, boho chic designs or giant rainbows and pop culture things taking over. Or, if you've been teaching as long as I have, maybe your classroom was decked out in chevrons. That was a whole phase a lot of us went through and gives me nightmares to this day. But while these are really, really fun themes that we can go with, they can also be really overwhelming and overstimulating for our students. So instead of using themes that are, bold and out there and just all encompassing for your classroom, consider instead color schemes. So a scheme is going to help kind of like set the tone for that space, right? It's going to promote a calm or focused atmosphere, or maybe it's creating an energetic atmosphere, depending on what colors you're using. But you're setting the vibe. You're creating an aesthetic designed based on cohesive colors. This is going to give your classroom a really nice, cohesive, calming, centralizing space, no matter what the colors are. Everything kind of goes together without being in your face, overly decorated. And that's great because we always want to consider the amount of wall space we're using. Too much is going to pull our students' focus away. So, minimally, you want to have 20% of white or blank space. I always aim for more than that. And I want to make sure that if something is up on my wall, it's worthwhile. So, it is either going to, help my students feel inspired and motivated just in general or about math, or they're going to be seeing things that are. Ooh, specific to my classroom. So, my classroom subject matter, maybe what our rules, our routines are, our social contract, things like that, that help them stay grounded in the learning center of this classroom. So, after working with teachers from around the country for a long time, I found that teachers really struggle with how to design their wall spaces intentionally, because we really want to go for that Pinterest feel or that Instagram feel. But we want to make sure that we are finding items that fit our style and our students and the grade levels that we teach, and we're not overwhelming our students, right? And, with middle and high school students, we want to be less cutesy and more comfortable and adult and grounded, and like, this is our workspace. This is where we go to work every day. So, in response to that, I have designed a whole series of classroom decor bundles that I'm super, super excited about, that include everything you might need for your classroom, whether that is, posters for classroom management, to daily agendas that are both physical that you can put up on the whiteboard or digital that you can display. They also have student self-assessment posters so that you can quickly and easily have students self-assess as part of their entry or exit routine from the classroom. We also have the 8 math practices, so you can make sure that you are focusing on one of those each week, highlighting how we use math in more ways than just the content area that we are learning. And of course, some motivational math quotes from both famous sayings and pop culture. I like this one. So this is one from the new line. It says, every problem has a solution, right? That's something math teaches us. And this one is from the Jewel Tone collection. And that's going up in my classroom because my classroom is Jewel Tone themed. So I'm really excited. These just dropped and we're about to have a TPT sale if you're listening to this in real time. So just so you know, you can grab these for up to 25% off right now. And these bundles are available to you. They are print and go ready. They come in 5 different color schemes to help you quickly and easily create a cohesive and productive math classroom workspace. Okay. All you have to do is download, print, and hang. It is that easy. So I'll make sure to link to all five of the bundles in the show notes below. But just as an overview, we do have brights, pastels, neutral and earth tones, jewel tones, and black and white that you can print on whatever it is that you want. All right, you guys, that is a lot for today. So to recap, we've covered 3 different ways we want to think about organizing our classroom and designing for a productive math classroom. We talked about our teacher workspace, so our desk, our storage, our digital storage. We talked about our student workspaces, how to arrange their desks, where they can get their supplies, how they can access any of the extra workspaces like VNPs in the classroom, in creating an overall classroom feel that fosters learning and engagement. Remember, you guys, a well-organized and welcoming classroom sets the stage for a successful school year. So if you're looking for more detailed resources on classroom setup, tap on the show notes and use the links to grab your classroom decor bundle today. And make sure to tune in next week, where we're going to explore first week activities and lesson planning to set the stage for a successful school year. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. I'm excited to go set up my classroom later this week. Please make sure you share your classroom setup with me on Instagram at More Than Just X. And as always, until next time, you guys, keep it real.